Welcome back to the Chris Salcedo Show. Tonight, we are exposing the unions that claim to protect the rights of teachers, but are just another big government political arm. Joining me now is President of the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation and the National Right to Work Committee, Mark Mix. Mark, welcome back to the Salcedo Show. You know, parents with children in government education, they may be surprised to find out that China virus protocols and the push for critical race theory and Marxist doctrine are not coming from truth, not coming from science, but the heavy hand of a rich and unaccountable teachers union, many of them. Many conservative and Republican teachers are struggling to gain their freedom from these public employee unions. How goes the fight?
Well, Chris, like all the fights that you're talking about, there's lots to deal with here, unfortunately. And union officials across the country have been granted unique powers when it comes to monopoly power over negotiating terms and conditions of employment that include curriculum and include science, if you will, when it comes to the COVID vaccine. I mean, Randy Weingarten at the American Federation of Teachers, she says they don't teach critical race theory in school, but yet they're going to defend teachers who are accused of teaching critical race theory in school. The NEA says outrageously that they're doing critical race theory in school. I mean, I don't know what the story is, but what we do know, Chris, to your point, is union officials have a unique position in this country controlling the government school systems in our largest cities and, unfortunately, in some of our smaller communities in America.
Well, let's pick up on that because, as you rightly point out, the American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten promising to defend teachers who break state laws to push this hate-whiting program, critical race theory. It begs a question. Why should taxpayer dollars continue to flow to these lawless public unions?
Well, they really shouldn't. And the fact is these are private organizations that have this unique privilege granted by government. The good news is that teachers do have a way out. They have to exercise their rights under a Supreme Court decision that we won 3 years ago called Janus v. AFSCME that says that no government worker anywhere in America can be forced to pay dues or fees to work for government or teach in a school. Unfortunately, Randy Weingarten and the big bosses at the NEA don't want to tell anyone about that. We're trying to, but they can get out and hold union officials accountable. And ultimately, that's what we have to do, Chris. When these people can elect their bosses on the school boards and the city councils and the county commissions, they get to show the power. In fact, you know, Randy Weingarten was working with the CDC about why schools and when schools reopen. And basically, she was helping to write the, quote, rules for when schools could reopen when it came to the COVID vaccine. This is incredible power, and it's out of all proportion to what they should have and what they do have.
Yes, her and her science degree. Oh, wait a minute, she doesn't have one of those. Biden's infrastructure spending bill, a lot of people don't realize this. The PRO Act is inside, which would repeal 27 states' right to work laws. Now, this rips the power away from individual workers and places it in the hands of these labor unions. Doesn't the PRO Act prohibit the use having it in there? Doesn't that prohibit the use of Democrats to use reconciliation to pass it because it's not a budgetary concern? But if it does pass, doesn't that turn America's workforce over to these socialist Democrat unions?
Absolutely. I mean, the bill primarily says it's going to repeal all 27 right to work laws that have been passed in states. And the right to work laws are real simple, Chris, as you know. You can choose to join a union. You can choose to fund a union. You can give your entire paycheck to a union if you want to. But you can't be compelled as a condition of your employment to pay dues or fees in the 27 right to work states. Union officials hate that. They want to be able to compel you. Democrat politicians want to compel you because that money turns over into political contributions. But you're right. The PRO Act has legislation in it, but it also has other provisions like the AB5 provisions from California that would eliminate gig workers, Uber drivers, Lyft workers, journalists, others that would be penalized for being independent contractors. It has so much in there. Some of it could be done by the budget reconciliation process. But on the right to work front, it looks like they would need to radically change the Senate rules in order to get that done by legislation and wouldn't have that majority only vote on reconciliation to get this done. But Biden's mentioned it everywhere. He mentioned it in the executive order on Friday afternoon that has something like 72 different provisions, including hearing aids, Chris. We're there now.
Wow. Good grief. And you know what? It's not just compelling folks, it's forcing. And that's what our political enemies do. They believe in government force, government telling you what to do, which, of course, is un-American. Now, we all remember how resident Barack Hussein Obama, he gave those recess appointments to the National Labor Relations Board that ended up violating the Constitution. But Joe Biden, his pick for the National Labor Relations Board, the general counsel is Jennifer Barak. What is her name? Jennifer. What is her name? I'm having trouble remember, but I know she's shady. Tell us about her and what's in her background that we should all be concerned about.
Well, it's Jennifer Abruzzo, Chris, and she basically what happened is 23 minutes into the president's term in office, he fired the acting general counsel. It's the first time it's happened in our country's history since the National Labor Relations Board was created back in 1935. No president has previously fired a general counsel at an independent agency, the top lawyer, while they still had time left in their terms. Obama didn't do it. Bush didn't do it. Clinton didn't do it. Nobody did it. But Joe Biden did it 23 minutes into his administration. And what we found out, Chris, was that Jennifer Abruzzo, the new nominee for that very same position, was the one advising President Biden on what he should be doing when it came to the general counsel. She said she was looking at stakeholders, but frankly, emails that we uncovered through a FOIA request showed that she and one other person were responsible for basically getting the general counsel fired. And what this means, that general counsel, the top lawyer, has the ability to say, we're going to bring charges or not. And she's a former union lawyer, Chris. She litigated for the Communication Workers of America. So when a CAWA case comes in front of the board, what's she going to say?
What is not corrupt in this administration? Seriously, it's a shorter list, for crying out loud. Mark Mix, thank you very much. Appreciate the update and the time. Coming up, folks.